The Barstar Podcast, hosted by Stephen O'Reilly, is a podcast about working musicians, their friends, and their opinions. Stephen is a musician in Louisville, Kentucky, who has... Wait a second. This guy's a drummer, not a real musician? Somebody gave a drummer a microphone for his voice? The hell? Unreal. Unbelievable.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Barstar Podcast. I am your host, Stephen O'Reilly. I want to thank you guys for coming back to hang out with me once again. I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody had a good week. And as always, I hope you guys went out and did some shit. Please make sure you check out my sponsor, Prophecy Inc. You go into the shop and you will get 10% off your tattoo by any artist in the shop. I am not flying solo today. I am hanging out with my estranged buddy. And I say estranged because we don't talk every day. But that's the kind of friendship we have, and that's okay. One Mr. Jesse Vest.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
I've been called strange many times.
Once or twice, I'm sure you have.
Estranged. No, listen, you can, that is the friendship I have with you is not much different than the friendships I have with a lot of people.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I'm the kind of person that I can go years without seeing or even talking to somebody, and then somebody will come up and say, "Hey, do you know so-and-so?" And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that dude's one of my best friends."
Yep.
It's just the way that I run my life, and it's not always for the best, but a lot of my friendships are that way.
But there's nothing wrong with that. I was having a conversation about this the other day. I have a really, really good friend of mine lives in Atlanta, and I probably haven't talked to him in 4 years. Mm. But the last time we talked on the phone, it was like we talked 2 days ago.
Oh, yeah. You just pick right up where you left off.
Absolutely. And I think people that have those friendships, to me, those are the more real friendships. Because you're not talking to each other because you feel like you have to. Mm. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So I think you and I have that. We don't talk to each other because we feel like we have to. Every time we see each other, it's the same. Hey, dude, what's going on? How's things? And we move on.
Exactly.
We don't have... Let's be honest. There's a lot of shit in my life you don't care about.
Well, yeah.
It's a fact.
I don't care at all.
As you should.
No, most of my friendships, with the exception of the guys in the band,
Well, you have to talk to them because they'll blow your damn phone up if you don't.
I have to talk to them because I work with them. Obviously, my wife and my family, I talk to them every day.
Right.
But as far as, maintaining friendships are not my strong suit. But most of my friends are guys that I would absolutely take bullets for them.
Right.
But I don't remember to call them on their birthday. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I get it. I know a lot of people like that. So I just did your show, and that was hard because you have a clean show, and I'm all foul-mouthed and shit, and that sucked in a good way, but it sucked.
Well, life, you should always try to challenge yourself in life. You know what I mean?
I should win a medal or something.
Well, you got to work out those skills, man. Those little parts of your brain. You usually operate with no filter. It's good to throw a filter on every once in a while just to see if you can do it.
How'd I do?
You did very well. I'm proud of you. I'm not even going to have to edit any curse words out. Like, you didn't swear once. You could have, and I could have edited it out, but you didn't.
I know, and
you did a great job.
It was hard.
I bet.
The reason I bring that up, jokes aside, is because I've never talked about it on this show. You have a podcast as well called The Crasher Cast.
Yes. Which
I have listened to all of your episodes with the exception of one, the workout guy. No disrespect to him. I'm just not interested in that. And I have loved all of them. And I gave you shit when your podcast came out. I texted you and I said, damn it, you beat me. Because I've been wanting to do one forever and you beat me to it. So, well played, sir.
Well, I sit around and I usually just try to think, okay, how can I beat Stephen O'Reilly this week? And I thought, I know. I bet he wants to do a podcast. I'm going to beat him to the punch and do mine first.
That is the greatest bullshit line I've ever heard.
No, it's
a tradition on my show. High five in a microphone.
There we go.
That was a good one.
The podcast came about probably for the same reason that you did yours. Is I'm a really big podcast fan.
Absolutely.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I love. Not that I'm the world's biggest talker, but I like to talk to people about interesting things, people, interesting things.
Right.
I don't want to get on here, do a podcast and just have somebody push their product or do a glorified commercial or something like that.
Right.
I want to talk to somebody.
I agree.
And if I'm going to waste my time to sit down here across from your ugly face, I want to get something out of it. You know what I mean? And the conversation is the something.
Absolutely.
So that's why I started the podcast.
And I can't. I was born with this ugly shit. There's nothing I can do
about it.
I'm
just joking. I'm the pot calling the kettle black over here, dude.
Nah, you're cute.
Stop
my God, you're so cute.
Stop it.
I can't help it.
Take it easy, Cindy.
Whatever, Linda. So, when your first episode... You posted you just told me, let's see if I can remember, June of last year, correct?
June of 2017, yeah.
Yep. So you have, how many episodes do you have now? 10?
You were number 10.
I was number 10?
It depends on how you're doing the math. I think on my feed, there are more than 10, but there are 10 official episodes in air quotes.
I like so I love air quotes.
I just recorded episode number 10 with you.
Awesome. So. And where can your show... I know it's on Stitcher and iTunes, correct?
It's on Stitcher, it's on iTunes, it's on Overcast, which is my current favorite platform for listening to podcasts.
That's right, you told me about that. I have to check them out. Apparently, I am on Overcast and didn't even know it.
Yeah. They're not a paid sponsor. They don't pay me to say that, but I think they have the best listening platform.
Right.
At least I've got an older phone. It's an iPhone 6, and it works. I love it's so much better than the Apple Podcast app.
Right.
So that's what I use to listen to. But you can also go to the website, which is crashercast.com.
Cool. And
listen to them, stream them straight from the website.
Sweet. All right, you plugged all your shit. Get up.
All right. I appreciate it. Can I at least have another cup of coffee for the road?
You can have as many coffees of mine as you want. Because coffee is life, sir. I wanted you on for a couple reasons, and you wanted me on your show for a couple reasons. So
I don't know what those reasons were, but...
Well, I'm getting to that. All so... Right. Brief seriousness, if you want to listen to my episode on your show, you fuckers can pause this now, go find the Crasher Cast and listen to it, and then come back. We'll wait.
That would at least put them in the sequence of events, because we've already had that conversation first.
We did.
And they could finish it up with this one.
Absolutely.
And things got a little heated in that episode. There was actually a fist fight.
There was, that you won because you beat the shit out of me.
Well... every once in a while, life needs to give you a black eye. Just put you in your place.
I know. So, I mean, it can you at least hit the other one so I'll have matching luggage?
It'll look like when you wear the eye makeup. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I've done my time with the eye makeup.
I'm aware. I've seen some pictures. A funny story. Once I was out on the road and I punched a guy, and I was in band with him, and in the next show, they had to put eye makeup on both his eyes
to cover up the black eye.
The black eye, because basically this whole side of his face was black. Really, I got a really good shot on him.
Nice.
And this whole side of his face was totally
not
black.
Nice. Sorry, I'm not condoning violence.
No, and I don't either. And I haven't hit anybody in over 10 years.
Did he deserve it?
So, of course, he hit me first.
Then I'm condoning it
twice.
Oh,
he hit me once in the nose. And I said, don't do that again. And he hit me again in the nose. And listen, I don't care if a baby hits you in the nose, it hurts.
That shit hurts.
I've been hitting the nose
a lot. Yeah.
And so after the second time, I was like, that's it.
You're done.
Yep. And that was it. But I don't condone violence. Avoid it at all costs.
I agree. I'm a shit talker and a runner.
At least you're honest about it, man.
You come after me to whip my ass, I'm throwing my wallet at you, and I'm out the door. That's just not going to happen. I'm little. I play drums for a living. No, I'm not interested.
You're not that little. You look like you're in relatively good shape here, man. Is that just from the drumming? You look like you're not...
Oh, you're very complimentary. I have my man girdle on. I've got it all sucked in. I got my compression socks on.
I got to get me one of those.
I'm just kidding. No, I guess you could say I come from good genes. My dad is 70, I always forget. He's 76. And he looks like a probably mid-50s guy with a beer gut. He's not a big dude, and he's not active anymore. He's 76. I mean, he still gets out. He's out and about. He's not housebound or anything, but everybody in my family, as far as I can remember, and as far as I can tell, are pretty kind of lean, small people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still got my girdle on.
You know, my mom and my dad, if you put them together, put them in like big heavy winter coats,
right?
Soak them with water, and had each of them holding a cat. Both of them together wouldn't weigh as much as I do.
That's the greatest description ever.
It's like, I don't know how I came about, because I'm not, incredibly tall. I'm about 6 foot. Right. I'm about 220 pounds.
But you're not. I wouldn't call you a big guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not like huge, but my parents are tiny people.
Really?
Like, they're not. I wouldn't call them short, but they're definitely not as tall as I am.
They're not jitleys, right?
And they're super lean, man.
So they're not jitly short.
They're not jitly short. No, my mom towers over Howard.
Everybody towers over Howard. Howard towers over Howard. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's cool to know that your parents are tiny. My parents are my mother is a whack job, but physically she's I don't know, 5'4", 5'5". She's not a big woman. Relatively skinny. My dad's kind of the same way. My dad's 5'10". Like I said, I just described him. So
you're right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm kind of right in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm other than my sister is 4'11". She's been 4'11" since the 4th grade. But there's three of us boys. I am the shortest and the smallest. Both of my other brothers are very broad-shouldered, tall. My brother Danny's 6'2", 6'1", something like that.
I just want to say here that it's the concept that there's more than one O'Reilly in the world.
Uh-huh.
It's a kind of a scary concept.
No, they're normal. I'm not. They're all normal people.
Really?
Yes, that's why I live 800 miles away from the closest one. They're all normal, and I don't like it.
Okay.
Normal compared to me. I mean, what really is normal anyway?
Normal is a very subjective term.
That is very, very true. So, back to the original reason why I wanted you on the show. I have listened to your show, your podcast, all your episodes, and I have known you I've been in Louisville for 11 years, so I've known you at least 9 of those years. And I'm throwing you under the bus on my show because that's what I do. You're very self-deprecating. And I don't think you give yourself enough credit. And the reason I say that before you answer is I think you're a monster bass player. And I'm looking you in the eye telling you that. I'm not placating. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. You are a fucking good bass player. And not to mention, you have done amazing things in your life. So that is one of the main reasons I wanted you on the show, because Louisville has this thing, and you've heard me talk about it on my show before. Louisville has this thing where there's the little hometown cliques, and everything that's here is here, and it doesn't exist outside of here. Mm-hmm. I was listening to Days of the New when I lived in Charlotte in 99, 2000, 2001, I think is when I left Charlotte. There was a 4-year period. I'm a gypsy. I've lived too many damn places. I'm not going to talk about it here. But I had that record, and I was like, man, that fucking record's great. Then when I get here, everybody's like, well, you know that guy's in the band, and that guy was in it. And I'm going, what are you talking about? I didn't care, because I didn't know that you guys were from here. Mm. So when you started your show and then I started my show, I was like, I got to get Jesse on eventually. And then, of course, you beat me and had me on your show first.
I'm quick to the draw.
That's all right. I got Marvin before you did.
Well.
Ha.
Yeah, you're in closer proximity.
True, I did cheat. I did have him come upstairs to my teaching studio. I was like, hey, sit down. Let's have a conversation.
And you're a drummer.
Right. So I do trump you in Marvin's eyes.
Hold on. I can one-up you, because I've performed on stage with Marvin.
Shit!
I got to play bass with Marvin behind the drum kit.
Oh!
So,
damn it!
Nice try, O'Reilly.
Can't win for losing with you.
Now listen, so the self-deprecating humor is...
and by the way, for the record, I'm all about self-deprecating humor. I do it to myself as well.
Yeah.
But I feel, as your friend, and I'm telling you this honestly, I don't think you give yourself enough credit as the things that you have accomplished. Just my viewpoint.
Well, let me address that. What I was going to say is my self-deprecating humor is part of my charm. It's part of my it's part of my personality. You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
And for whatever reason, that's just become part of my habit, who I am.
Right.
But the reason that I maybe people have the perception that I sell myself short as far as what I've accomplished is because in a very real sense, it feels like that happened to somebody else. I'm so far removed from the earlier projects that I did. I mean, I've been in the Crashers for 10 years.
Yep.
And in my mind, it's the biggest and best thing I've ever done.
Right. By the way, according to Wikipedia, you've been in the Crashers for 14 years.
Well,
chew on that for a second, because you totally have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Let me just tell you that somebody, I don't know who set up the Wikipedia page.
I don't either.
But
I just thought it was funny.
It's not all accurate.
No.
It's not all accurate.
It's pretty funny. I was reading it and going, okay, first of all, I didn't know you had one. And second of all, that's wrong and that's wrong. That never happened. It was kind of funny. Anyway, carry on. I interrupted you.
And the thing is that I don't want to be that guy that goes on and edits his own Wikipedia page.
Right. No,
I'm not going to be that guy.
I get it.
You know? So there are some things in there that are wrong, and there's some things in there that are close to right. The fact is that the true stories, a lot of them is just nobody's business anyway, so I wouldn't bother putting them on there.
No, I agree.
But it's it's the kind of thing where that section of my life, the basically from the time I've recorded that first Days of the New album, I was a senior in high school when we recorded that album.
Thank you. You blocked out one of the questions. Perfect. You answered it already. Because I was going to ask you how old you were when you recorded that record.
Yeah, I actually had to go to my principal and talk to him and have him grant me 2 weeks leave to go to Nashville.
No shit.
So George Marshall, who's actually passed away, he was a very nice guy, and he did that, and he didn't have to. He could have said, screw you, you're not graduating if you're not here for those 2 weeks, but he let me go. So I've always been grateful to him for being cool and understanding about that. But anyway, that time period from the time that we recorded that first album to the time that Days of the New went away and Tantric came into being and I left Tantric, that whole sequence of events, a lot of times it feels like it's a movie I watched. I was there, obviously. Right. But it just seems kind of crazy because I go through my normal day-to-day life now, and somebody will say, hey, you remember that time that thing happened? And I'll be like, holy crap, that actually happened to me. I was there and I saw that. It's just, it's almost like my brain has put up kind of a wall. That was my life then. This is my life now.
That makes sense. And I'm glad you kind of clarified it, because there's a lot of people in town, myself included, but there's a lot of people in town that have done all these amazing, amazing things. But then there's a small group of people in town that like to rub it in your face, the amount of amazing, amazing things that they've done. And that shit gets annoying. But with you never talk about it. Like, it took me, I think Kevin was the one, I know you because of Kevin and because of Moms. And I think Kevin is the one that said, well, you do know who he is, right? And I was like, I don't fucking know this guy. He's a good bass player. I don't know who he is. He was in Days of New and Tantric. And I went, oh, okay. And then he introduced me to Todd Whitener, and Todd was like, hey, yeah, I did this, that, and the other. And Todd's kind of like you. He doesn't really talk about it either. So I just found it fascinating because when I first met Hugo, and I don't know Hugo, we've had one conversation, and this was about the extent of the conversation. Chuck Willis, my old singer from Heaven Hill, introduced me to him. And he said, hi, I'm Hugo from Tantric. And I went, okay, that's fucking great. And I walked away. Yeah. But the reason I say it that way is because if somebody meets you, they would never know that you were in this multi-platinum band. Yeah. They would have no clue.
No clue.
And on the one hand, I admire it, I appreciate it, and I respect it. And on the other hand, I'm like, why does Jesse never talk about this? So here we are.
Yeah, I don't know.
And you don't have to talk about anything you don't want to.
No, I don't have a problem talking about anything generally. To answer your question, though, more pointedly, why don't I ever talk about it? For one thing, it's a big aspect of my personality. I'm just not the type of person to go around talking about myself.
That's true.
That's the thing. One of the things I really love about being in a band is that it's not about me.
Right.
That's, if I wanted it to be about me, I would have learned to sing.
Mark.
Or I would have learned to play guitar. You know what I mean? Like
too many guitar players to name.
Yeah. There's that aspect of my personality that enjoys being the bass player.
Right.
And enjoys being sort of behind the scenes a little bit.
No, I get it. That makes sense. And it makes complete sense, especially after doing your episode. I learned some stuff about you, and I'm getting ready to learn more stuff about you, which I think is cool. It's one of the reasons why I love doing the podcast. Mm. I learned shit about all my friends. And then, I think I said this on your episode, I've got some people coming up that we're not, quote, friends, we're acquaintances. And I'm looking forward to those because I don't know anything about them.
Right.
It's going to be cool. But the thing with it, going back to the Days of the New thing that I really want to know is, I knew you were young. I didn't realize you were still in high school. Mm-hmm. Did you graduate before you went on tour?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when did, and you could give me the very, very short version. I'm not looking for intimate details. I don't give a shit about that. I just want to know what it was like to be that young and go, holy shit, I just got signed. I'm going on tour. Because there's guys like me, before you answer the question, there's guys like me that have been trying to do that. And I've done it to a degree, but I never did it on the national level.
Right.
And I've always wanted to know what goes through your head when you figure it out, especially as young as you were. Like, I can't imagine being 19, 20 going, hey, fucker, you're going on tour. Okay. I would freak out. I want it. I want it now at 43, but I still think there's a part that would freak out way back then. How did you handle it?
I think that my youth served me greatly.
The abandonment of youth?
No, just I guess what I'm saying is I had so little perspective. Like, there are guys, we're talking about 1996.
Right.
Is when I got a record deal.
Yeah, because the record came out in 97, correct?
Yeah.
I cheated. Because my date memory
Did you
sucks.
look at my Wikipedia?
Oh, no, I Googled it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, when did the Days of the New record come out? And that
came out
came into the rabbit hole.
June 3rd, 97 is when it came out.
See, this, folks, is why Jesse's awesome, because he remembers shit.
I'm good generally with dates and times.
You are.
So I graduated in 96.
Okay.
And we recorded the album when I was still in high school, and very shortly after I graduated, we started touring.
Gotcha.
And back in those days, everybody knows the record business used to be a different animal.
Oh, absolutely.
There actually used to be this thing called the record business.
Yeah.
And these things called record labels.
Mm-hmm.
And they would invest in an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened to us. So before the album was released, they had us for about 9 or 10 months on the road, doing club dates, meeting radio people, doing all this stuff, opening for bigger artists before the album ever got released. So that when the album got released, it was an instant smash because we'd already developed this reputation. Made friends at radio, and the people at the station were playing it all the time. So we already had fans. As soon as the album was released, it was flying off the shelves.
Right.
It was a very fortunate situation. And what I mean by my youth served me is that it's not like I was a guy who was 25 years old working in a machine shop who finally got a big break.
Right.
I was a kid coming out of high school into the big break, and I didn't know what it was like to have that struggle in that sense, to be playing all the bars. And I just thought,
this is what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that I thought that then, but looking back on it, that's how I approached it.
Right. I have a habit of defending Tommy Lee a lot, even though I've never met the guy. And one of the reasons I defend him is because he's probably the literal reason why I play drums. That one doesn't count, kids, because I didn't say the other L word. He is the reason I play drums. But I think the reason I defend him when he does all his wacky shit, when Motley Crue got signed, he was 17. Hmm. He didn't even finish high school.
Right.
And they're on the road with Too Fast for Love, and then Shout at the Devil comes out. They're huge. He's had a career from the time he was 17 till now. And I'm not saying this in a derogatory way or throwing him under the bus. The guy doesn't fucking know what it's like to struggle.
Yeah.
He's never had to, quote, adult. So I think that's where I kind of defend him on that front, because he, like you, he got out of high school. He's like, this is what happens. Sweet. Where you kind of went, wait, this isn't really how this is supposed to be. Let me take a step back, at least from my perspective.
Well,
when you got out of it and all that kind of stuff, he's never got out of it. So I know it's a weird comparison, but that's where I'm going with it, because you got two guys that basically essentially did the same thing. You got out of it. He didn't, so he still has the mind of a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And he's in his, I don't even know how old Tommy is, I guess 50s by now.
He's got to be in his 50s.
Yeah, he's got to be. But I find that fascinating.
Well, the thing with me is that one aspect of my personality that I'm very grateful for is that I do tend to ponder on things. I tend to think things through. Mm-hmm. And so early on in those days, if I had had a different personality, I could very well be dead or in jail now.
I can see that.
And there are guys that I was in that band with, unfortunately, that are not doing well because they didn't have that aspect of my personality. You know what I mean? That makes them take pause and say, okay, well, maybe it's not the best idea to do that much cocaine in one sitting. maybe I shouldn't do that. And I think that
maybe I should do half of that amount.
That little piece, not that I didn't make some bad decisions.
We all have.
Obviously, I've done some things that I shouldn't have done, especially earlier in my life. But I always had that.
And on the Crashers cruise, drink much? Oh. You're welcome. Carry on.
Anyway, hey, how's that Jesse's girl going for you?
About as good as always. A fucking train wreck.
Even on the cruise, I could play Jesse's girl.
I got nothing, brother. I got nothing.
Anyway.
It's my damn kryptonite.
So, but I always, fortunately, I always had that little voice in the back of my head. I had that, it's almost like I could envision it being a little piece that I hold on to in the center.
Right.
So even if I was making some bad decisions and everybody around me was making worse decisions, I still had that little piece where I was conscious of what was going on.
Right.
And I knew where to draw lines.
Fair enough.
And unfortunately, some of the guys in that band didn't know where to draw lines.
Right.
And it was, as much as I truly, I don't harbor any ill will to well, maybe that's not even an honest answer. I try not to harbor any ill will. I try to be positive about the whole experience, but there's a part of me that is almost, it sounds like a horrible word to use, but pitying. You know what I mean? I just feel bad that some of the guys I was in a band with were not able to keep it together. You know,
I
because they had such an incredible amount of talent.
Oh, absolutely.
And they were just so gifted, and it basically has destroyed their lives.
No, I get that, because I've seen it in Atlanta and other cities I've lived in where you've got these guys that are so talented and they just piss it away.
Yeah.
The reasons are irrelevant. Doesn't matter what the reason is, but they just piss it away, and you just kind of go, dude, you could have had everything. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean in a monetary sense. I just mean you could have had the life that a lot of us would kill for, and you're pissing it away for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
So I get exactly what you're saying. I know where you're coming from as far as using the word pitying. It makes complete sense.
Yeah. Because
you look at somebody and go, how can you be that good and just barf all over it? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I listen to your shows and you talk about being tattooed white trash. I don't have as many tattoos as you, but my white trash street cred is unquestionable.
Are you saying you're OG white trash?
I'm saying I'm straight up white trash. I'm so white trash that I still do eat Spam. That's how white trash I am. And so, coming
I can't believe you just said Spam on my show.
Dude, I've got some in my duffel bag. We're going to fry it up here
in a
minute.
Get the fuck out. Show's over. Get the fuck out. Beat it. Done. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Anyway, so, but, I grew up in a very, I grew up in a way where a lot of the people that I knew and had daily interactions with, not only were they uneducated and unemployed, but they were actively trying to destroy themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Through drugs or just, bad choices in general.
Right.
a lot of the people that I grew up around were like that.
Right.
And unfortunately, that influence, I think, also had a big impact. I mean, I'm just going to say the names. Matt and Travis is who I'm talking about.
Right.
In Days of the New.
Right.
They both had so much potential, but the way that they came up, on one hand, it helped to hone that talent, and it created some amazing songwriting.
Absolutely, it did.
On the other hand,
and for the record, I don't know either one of those dudes personally.
Yeah.
I've met Travis once, and I've met Matt twice.
Yeah.
So carry on. Sorry.
Well, and I'm just saying, when you weigh what the benefits that they got from their upbringing against the effect that it had on them in the long run, I think they got the bad end of the deal, because it was, I just don't think they stood a chance in a lot of ways. And I still have some portion of my heart for Travis.
Right.
Even though I think he's a horrible human being, it helps that I knew him before he became a horrible human being. I mean,
right.
I remember I was probably 8 or 9, and there was a haunted house in our neighborhood. And one of the rules was you had to hold the hand of the person in front of you. And I just happened to be next to Travis, and we had to hold hands through this haunted house. That's how long I've known him.
Damn.
So I knew him when he was just an innocent kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? Living in bad circumstances.
Right.
So there's part of me that still feels for him. And there's another part of me that realizes what a complete douchebag he is. And
you said douchebag. Yes.
I mean, he's become a horrible human being, but he wasn't always that way.
Right.
Matt, on the other hand, I love Matt so much more than he deserves. He's serious. He's like my brother. And when somebody's your brother, you love him no matter what.
Right.
And Matt's like that. He's done so many stupid things, and he and I have gotten in fights, and I had to pull him off a cop one time because he attacked a cop. There's so many things that he does wrong.
Right.
But when you know him like I knew him, there's a beautiful side to his personality. And I don't mean just the part of that's mega talented behind a drum kit. I mean, there's a part of him that's really beautiful.
Right.
And it makes me sad when I think about Matt, for sure.
I get it. And this is not a comparison or a one-up. It's just a relatable thing. There's a lot of people in my life that I feel the same exact way that you do.
I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You get to a point, let me rephrase that. I get to a point where I just cut people out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fucking deal with you anymore. I've done all I can do for you. Your problem is your problem because of the choices that you made.
Right.
It is out of my hands as your friend or as your family member. Most people that know me personally, I have a few family members like that. I have nieces and nephews I've never met because of their parents. You're an idiot. I'm not dealing with you. I can't.
Yeah.
So I get it. I think it's just in your situation when you're in that spotlight. Remember, obviously, I wasn't here when you were doing all of that, when you were at the peak. So I don't know the quote hometown vibe that was going on here. I'm just looking from the outside, and then when I got here, it all hit me in the head because everybody's going and telling me all this stuff. But when anything like that is exacerbated, big word, you like that?
I like it.
Because you're in the spotlight, it makes it seem a million times worse. But when you peel back the layers and you look at it, it's just another human problem. You fucked up. This is your fault. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, there was backstabbing and this. No, there wasn't. Dude made some shitty choices. And that's on that person.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not speaking of Travis and Matt because I don't know them. But if Travis fucked up, he fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was on intervention. He had some fucking issues.
Yeah.
He was on A&E's intervention, so that's public knowledge. But I get exactly what you're saying. And I think with you never talking about it and seeing yourself removed, and like you said, you kind of view it as a movie, I find that interesting because I've done the same thing on a much, if you could see what I'm doing where I need a camera, tinier scale. I've did a few mini tours, and I was physically there, but I don't remember physically being there.
Mm-hmm. I
I opened for Sponge. I don't even remember it. And you know me, I don't drink on stage. I never drink when I play. I still, to this day, I don't remember opening for Sponge.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea. I don't remember it. I do pictures and people told me. But it's weird when you remove yourself from those situations and then you go, okay, I did that. That was cool. And I'm fucking done. And you just move on.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get where you're coming from. I do. It still fascinates me though. Because you, Mr. Vest, played on TV.
Not only TV. I played on TV when people watched TV.
There it is. Yes!
You know what I mean?
I totally was going to... I swear, high five in the microphone. I was going to say that, and you did it. Yes, you did that. You toured with Metallica, or played some dates with. You can clarify that. You did Aerosmith too, right? Mm. And then you guys did a headline tour, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And the wheels came off quickly.
The reason I bring up Metallica before you talk about the wheels coming off, because that's interesting, is how old were you when you opened for Metallica?
Well, let me do the math here. I would have been 20.
Damn.
I would have been. It was a summer of 98, and it was a full tour. It was a full show.
Was it a full run?
We did 42 dates with them.
Nice.
And I watched the show 42 times. I watched every show.
Nice.
People don't. It's hard to express how much that tour meant to me at that point in my life, because when I grew up, I didn't go to church. I listened to Metallica.
Brother, I'm with you.
Metallica, it was my religion. It was everything. It represented everything that was cool in the world. I mean, Metallica was it. So to get to go on that tour, they came to us at the beginning in like the springtime. They said, listen, we're trying to put your summer together, and you guys have two options. You can either go out on tour and you can open for Van Halen, or you can go out on tour and open for Metallica. And
now, when you say they, hang on, are you talking about the record companies?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
In
your management, record
in
label.
my mind, it tends to blur. It all becomes one big conglomerate because they all conspire against you anyway.
Fair enough. I have dubbed it the death machine, by the way.
Yeah. The individuals in the company are generally well-meaning, but in a very real sense, you have, the booking agent and the record company and, your accountant and your lawyer and your manager. All these people are conspiring to get as much money out of you as they possibly can.
Oh, absolutely.
And if they can help you along the way, they want to do that. Mm-hmm. So that's the way it was 20 years ago. I can't speak to today.
Today, but anyway, you can have 20 billion plays on Spotify and make $2,000.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, go ahead.
So they came to us with that proposal and asked what we wanted to do, and obviously we picked Metallica.
Right.
And if we had picked Van Halen, it was the crappy Van Halen. It was the album where they had Gary Cherone, I think, that did that one album, and they went and toured a summer with him. Mm-hmm. So I'm so glad we didn't pick that.
True, but for the record, that dude's a badass singer.
Oh, Cherone?
Yeah.
No, listen, no
he
argument.
Never fit in that band, but
no
he was
argument
a badass
for
singer.
Me. He was. I'm definitely not crapping on him.
No, I know, but nobody gave a shit about that version of Van Halen.
Yeah,
I get it.
We made the right choice in a number of ways, and in the biggest way, as far as the impact it had on that project, it put us in the front of a lot more people.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
it's the name of the game: get in front of eyeballs, brother.
Dude, and we played. Like I said, it was 42 shows. 2 of those shows were sold out at Giant Stadium.
Damn.
So you're talking about 100,000 people each night.
Fuck.
And it's an incredible experience, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
But just from a purely professional standpoint, when you're talking about what's good to strategize for your career, putting yourself in front of 200,000 people in the course of 2 days is an amazing business plan.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it worked very well for us.
Absolutely.
But it was very cool. A lot of the stories that I could tell from the Metallica tour, I won't tell in public because my kids might hear this someday.
No. That that's completely fine. I'm not about dirt. I'm about whatever people want to talk about.
And there was a lot of dirt on that tour.
Oh, I can imagine.
But it was just in general, getting to hang out with, I don't want to offend any religious people, but Metallica might as well have been Jesus.
I get it.
In my book, I worship them, and getting to hang out with them, it could not have happened. Nothing better could have happened in my life at 20 years old.
Now, that is a question that I was going to ask you, so I'm glad you went there. I was going to ask you first if you got to hang out with them, because I know a lot of times if you're an opener on a big tour like that, you don't get to interact with the national, depending who it is. I mean, the headliner, depending who it is. But that's cool that you got to hang out with them. Were they actually cool, or were they putting on a front, or was it one of those things where as the tour went on, they went, oh, these guys are actually pretty cool?
I'll tell you what happened. Here's the tour. This was the full tour. It was us in the opening spot. Mm-hmm. It was Jerry Cantrell as the second opener. Mm-hmm. He was fresh out of Alice in Chains, and that was his first solo album.
Right. And
then it was Metallica.
Gotcha.
So that was the bill.
Gotcha.
So we got to spend a lot of time with Jerry Cantrell and his band,
right?
The band was sick.
That Jerry Cantrell solo record was a good record.
It really was a good record.
I can't remember who played on it, but I know it was a good record.
Well,
I listened to it a few times.
Mike Inez was on bass. That's all you need to know.
You are correct.
But anyway, we got to hang out with him quite a bit. As far as Metallica goes, Lars was very outgoing, very personable. He actually went out of his way to spend a lot of time with me and Matt in particular.
Oh, nice.
A very nice guy. And Jason Newsted was a bass player at that point. Mm-hmm. He was also very cool. He was always trying to get us to go play basketball. I'm not an athlete. I don't ever play basketball. But Todd Whitener would go play basketball with Jason Newsted all the time.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
And James, I didn't have much interaction with him.
Right.
But I'll tell you that everybody on the tour, the crew, everybody, they said that he was not quite himself. That he's normally more friendly and outgoing, but apparently, and I don't want to tell tales out of school here, but apparently he had just come out of rehab.
Gotcha.
And was trying to, get off the sauce. And so
just
I guess
isolated himself.
I guess he was just trying to isolate himself,
right?
Because we did not see much of him on that tour. And that, when Metallica tours, it's not like when anybody else tours, because they're Metallica, they can do what they want.
Pretty much.
So they, a lot of times we would be in, you name the city, we'd be in Dallas, and Metallica would go up and play the show, and they wouldn't get on the bus like we did. They'd get in a limo, go to the airport, fly home, sleep in their own bed that night. They own their own private jet. Like it's a completely different lifestyle.
Oh, absolutely.
And their tour manager told me we did a show in Rockford, Illinois with them. And it was this huge open field. It wasn't even like an official venue. It was just a huge empty field.
Right.
And we did a show with them. I think it was like 110, 120,000 people. And the tour manager told me that one show paid all the expenses for all the 42 shows. So it paid all the travel expenses, paid all the crew people, paid all the transportation, everything. All the other 41 shows were profit.
Fuck.
So that includes the 2 sold out shows at Giant Stadium. Those were profit. So
I can't do that much math, brother.
I'm telling you.
Damn.
That's straight up Metallica math, and they live on a different planet than us.
Oh, absolutely they do. Well, I would imagine, and I'm throwing shit at the wall right now, but I would imagine Kiss is the same way. Crew is the same way before they retired.
Yeah.
Those bands out, Aerosmith, I would imagine those bands are all on that level.
I would imagine that such is the case, but that's the only real world I
Right.
talked to their tour manager who handles their money, and that's what he told me.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
It's amazing.
It blew my mind.
But it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, what would that have been? You told me, I already forgot the date. Or the year. What year?
98.
98.
It was the tour for the Reload album.
Gotcha. So, in 98, so that was 20. Holy shit, that was 20 years ago.
Mm.
I mean, those days are gone. And it's crazy to think that you could do that back then. And now you have bands that are struggling to even do mini tours. Now, granted, you still have your big dogs that are still up there. And like, I just went and saw Pink. Amazing show.
Yeah.
Did you go?
No.
Oh,
Mark went, and I would have loved to have gone.
God, it was amazing. But you have artists and bands like that can still do it. But there's
Most of them are legacy artists.
Absolutely. The point I'm getting at, there's no mid-tier up-and-comers that can sell out 5, 6, 7, 10,000 seat, 20,000 seat venue, whatever you want to call it. They just can't do that anymore. I like the legacy artists. That's good. It's crazy that it's changed that much.
It really has. And it's the type of thing where, and people really get mad when I say things like this, but we have to acknowledge that rock is dead. I mean, it's on its deathbed. It might not be officially dead, but you can go. There's no real artist that I would call a rock band that could really come in to KFC Yum Center and sell it out that is not a legacy artist. You know what I mean? Journey could do it. Bon Jovi could do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Metallica,
Slipknot's not doing it. You know what I mean? Like they anything that's like a hard rock band, they're just not doing it. Now Bruno Mars can come in, Taylor Swift can come in all day long, Katy Perry, Pink, a billion of them, but they're pop artists or they're country artists.
Yep.
Rock artists,
they have a harder time.
They're being squeezed out of that. And I don't, you know, I mean, I could spend probably 3 hours trying to figure out why that is, but I'm not going to do that.
We won't figure it out anyway.
The fact is, it's happening, and it makes me sad, but it's the truth.
It is what it is.
And Metallica is one of those artists that will, as long as James can pick up a guitar, that band will tour and make millions.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, they will. I went to, while you were talking about that, I just thought of the last, quote, rock show I went to. It was at Yum Center. Obviously, I saw Pink, but the last rock show I went to was the Five Finger Death Punch tour. And it was Bruce Dickinson's son's band, who I can't remember. Then it was 6 a.m., which is really all I gave a shit about because I really wanted to see them. Then it was Shinedown. The only reason I didn't give a shit about them is because I've seen them 3 or 4 times. Phenomenal live. I don't know if you've ever seen them. Amazing.
I toured with them, yeah.
And then Five Finger Death Punch was the headliner. But a band or a bill that was stacked like that, it still didn't sell out.
Yeah.
And now I will be straight up honest. I respect Five Finger Death Punch. I left. After 5 or 6 songs, I was done. I just didn't care.
Yeah. Well, if you got to sit through 3 other bands to get to it.
There is that too. 6 a.m. was amazing. Shinedown was amazing as always. But now Five Fingers production, her stage was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was so cool. But the point I'm getting at, I'm making a long story longer. It didn't sell out. So there is something to be said about rock kind of dying.
Yeah.
It sucks, but it is what it is.
It didn't sell out, and they had to stack that bill like crazy to sell what they did.
Absolutely.
You know?
Because if you think about it, 6 a.m., just pure musically, knowing what we know about music, because we're musicians. I'm not saying we're elitist, but we're musicians. We listen to music differently. Those records are phenomenal. Most of the Shinedown stuff, phenomenal. Five Finger Death Punch, whether you're into that music or not, for what it is, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So to stack, like exactly what you said, to stack that bill like that and still didn't sell out. Pink had an opener that played 20 minutes, or no, they played 30 minutes. Never heard of them in my life. Didn't matter. That show sold out. Yeah,
it's, you know, I think that there's not, and I admittedly, I want to say this openly, it's not like I'm on the cutting edge of what's happening in the music scene. Like, you know, there might be somebody out there that's really great that I don't know about, but as far as rock goes, there hasn't been anything to blow my skirt up in the last 10, 15 years.
I would agree with that. I would totally agree with that.
I mean, not that there's not good bands, but there are no Metallicas coming up.
No.
You know, we're just not making them anymore. And I think that it may be the end of an era.
No, you're completely right. There's been nothing that's come out that's just phenomenal. And again, I'm with you. And I think I talked about it on one of my shows. It's not to say that anything nowadays sucks. It's not to say that there's not good artists. I just don't think, and I hate to be the fucking quintessential old dude, I don't think this generation cares as much as we did.
No, you're absolutely right. If there was a great band that came out today, it doesn't matter how good it is, it wouldn't have the same mass appeal.
Nope.
Because, you know, there's a real lack of commonality in society today.
Oh, I agree.
You know, people who like country music can listen to so much country music and they never have to hear anything else.
True.
You know, I mean, I'm not old, but I'm old enough to remember that, you know, we didn't have internet radio. You know what I mean? There were a few stations on the dial, and if you were listening to the rock station and there was a commercial on, you'd flip over to the country station.
Yep.
You know, it was sort of, you had your options and you had to take what you could get.
Yeah.
Today, you can take anything you want.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you're just not going to develop the audience that's necessary to build another legacy artist. It's not going to happen.
No, I agree. And I've said it on the show, and I'm still waiting for the people to email me to tell me to stop saying it. Technology is the greatest, worst thing ever invented.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So, okay, back to you. Enough about this shit. And then we're going to move on to social media issues.
Okay.
So you did the tour with Metallica. Did you tour with Aerosmith too, or did you just open for him a few times?
I can tell you.
Or where did that even come from?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
This podcast could be 6 hours long, so I'm trying to limit these stories.
Did you just use the L word?
Limit? Literally.
I didn't have to do it. Yes.
I didn't even catch it. I said it 6 times.
I know. Good job.
Anyway, so, but really, I've got stories that I could go for days, so I'll try to limit them.
Right.
The Aerosmith thing.
And before you go any further, I don't care about, I want to know about this show and this show and that. I'm just trying to kind of get a sense of what you've done on a grander, not even grander, on a more blanket statement, because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
There really is a lot of people that don't know what you personally have done. Yes, we know Days of the News sold shit tons of records. We know Tantric sold shit tons of records. It's great. But I'm just trying to figure out what you've done. So if you don't want to tell a specific story, I don't really care. Well, I just want the blanket statement.
This one I'll tell because it's funny and interesting. And I'm one of the few people who could probably make this claim. Or maybe I'm not. Anyway, the Aerosmith thing came about. The Days of the News manager was a guy named Rick Smith. Mm-hmm. And he was a college roommate. His college roommate was Steven Tyler.
Gotcha.
So they were, I don't know how close the relationship was, but it was obviously enough to get us mentioned to Steven Tyler. And I don't know if it was done as a favor to our manager or if something else was worked out.
Right.
Anyway, we ended up in Boston playing, what's the venue there? Is it the Fleet Center? I don't know. It's probably called something different now. It's probably, but anyway, the big supermassive arena in Boston on New Year's Eve with Aerosmith, who's from Boston.
No shit.
So December 30th and December 31st of 97, I think it was, we got to open up for Aerosmith.
Damn.
And it was great. Obviously it was great. Our drummer, Matt, got to kiss Liv Tyler when the ball dropped at midnight.
Oh, very cool.
So that was, he'll never forget that.
Oh, I wouldn't either. That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah.
I mean, it was a really cool moment, but.
What'd you do last night? I kissed Liv Tyler. I win.
Yeah. Basically, you win all the time.
Absolutely.
The contest
win every
is over.
Argument. Yep, yeah. Pretty much.
Anyway, what happened was during this particular time in Aerosmith's history, they were super clean as far as drinking goes.
Right.
So if you were going to be part of Aerosmith's road crew, you could not drink.
Right.
If you're going to be an opening act, you could not drink. And I don't mean just at the show. I mean on your bus en route to the show, no one was allowed to drink anything at all, ever.
Damn.
They were very hardcore about it. Of course we were drinking.
Well, of course.
Of course we were drinking. And we weren't even old enough to drink, but that never stopped us because that's who we were.
Right.
But we were in the dressing room, okay, and we wanted to sneak some beer into the venue.
Right.
We wanted a few beers before we went on stage that night. So we tell our security guy, hey, listen, run out to the bus. It was freezing cold outside because it's December in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
He's got this heavy jacket. Go put some beers in your jacket. Bring him into the dressing room, okay? He goes out, he gets the beers. He's walking back to the dressing room. 2 beers fall out of his jacket and break on the floor. In front of Steven Tyler. I can't make this up. Steven Tyler was standing right there. Okay? So Steven Tyler sees it and he's livid.
Oh, I would imagine.
He's so mad. And he's like, who do you work for? And the guy was like, I work for Days of the New. And so Steven Tyler marches straight to our dressing room. We're all just in there hanging out. And he motherfucks us up one side and down the other. You people, this and that and this and that, just cussed us out and called us everything but a white boy. I mean, it was like, he really laid into us. And that's what I was saying. Probably not many people can say Steven Tyler cussed him out.
That's very true.
And he actually told us he was throwing us off the tour and we were not going to play that night. But he let us play because it was our last show anyway. And it was New Year's Eve. and I guess he was feeling charitable. But just the image of it, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy crap, Steven Tyler's cussing me out right now. I'd never talked to him before that.
Right.
There was no introduction. It was just he marches into the dressing room and starts cussing me out and calling us everything.
The only reason I'm laughing is because it's just the thought of exactly what you just said. Motherfuckers are going to work day after New Year's Day, and I'm getting cussed out by Steven Tyler. My life rules. That's fantastic, sir.
Yeah, it's a good story that that's one that I do remember very well, and I do tell from time to time, just because it's, you know,
you can't make it up.
Well, and experiences like that are ones that, while maybe it was slightly uncomfortable in the moment, it makes a great story.
Absolutely.
And it's something that I look back on and say, you know what? I was cool at one time.
I still think you're cool.
I know, but you don't count.
You're right. I don't count. I don't count for shit. Well, that's like Dave's story when he's talking about taking a piss next to Charlie Pride.
Oh, no. Oh, listen. I got to tell you this. I got to tell you this. Charlie Pride. All right. I heard Dave tell that story on your podcast. Right. Charlie Pride. I want to say I've never met Charlie Pride.
Right.
And I would love to, but I don't really know anything about him, to be honest. But
right.
When I hear that name, my grandfather was a huge racist. I mean, world-class racist.
Hey,
okay?
One of those dudes.
One of those dudes.
Ah.
But my granny loved Charlie Pride. And let me tell you, there was my granny, no lie, that she kept a framed picture of Charlie Pride underneath her mattress so that my grandpa would not find it.
No shit.
She loved Charlie Pride, but my grandpa was such a huge racist. If he'd known that picture was there, he would have destroyed it. So she had to hide it.
That's crazy.
And when he told that story, I was like, I got to tell my Charlie Pride story. You know? That was awesome, though. You know, that's the thing about the music business, above and beyond all of the, you know, being on stage and being in front of people and having people think that you're cool or making money. You get to meet your heroes.
Absolutely.
If you find yourself in the right spot at the right time under the right circumstances, you can meet people who you genuinely love, and you can tell them that. You can say, "Man, I loved this album. It meant so much to me."
Right.
And you know, some people are jerks when you approach them.
Of course they are.
But a lot of people take that as, you know, and they're very gracious about it.
Absolutely. I think those of us that have been doing this for a while, whether they have gotten to the level that you've gotten to, a level higher, they stay at my level, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of us just take it for granted. And we take the small things for granted. In fact, you and I talked about that on your show, about telling small white lies and stuff, and you start to take things for granted. I'm not sure when this episode will post, but on my episode I did with Todd, I talked about emailing James Michael. James Michael is the singer for 6 a.m. Not only is he the singer for 6 a.m., he is an actual producer. He produced a shit ton of records before he ever started singing for 6 a.m. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that. I shouldn't say I didn't know that. I didn't know he produced as much as he did. He wrote songs he wrote Saliva's first biggest hit. And I didn't know that. And he produced the whole thing. So, but the point I'm getting at, I'm not a fanboy as far as that kind of stuff goes. But he said something in one of his episodes, and I went, I'm going to email this dude, and I don't care if he responds. He responded. So now I'm kind of modern day pen pals with James Michael. And it's just cool because that's a small, stupid thing, but it means a lot.
Yeah.
Because I get to interact with this guy whose music did something for me. Same thing when I met Morgan Rose. We don't talk a whole lot. Morgan Rose is the drummer for Seven Dust. We don't talk a whole lot, but when I met him, we had this kind of immediate bond because we have, I don't want to say the same instructor, but sort of the same instructor, a drummer that helped both of us out. The guy that does the intros for my show, Tom Knight, he's a mutual connection between Morgan and I. And when I met Morgan, I walked up to him and I said, dude, you're going to love us. Or you might not. I don't know. I walked up to him and I said, dude, I've been a fan of yours for you're obviously Seven Dust, but a fan of your drumming for a while. You're really, really good. And I crossed that line and I put both of my hands on his shoulders and I said, but Tom Knight told me to tell you to go fuck yourself. And he started laughing so hard and he grabbed me and hugged me. And I thought I was going to poop. He squeezed me so hard. And I'm just going, dude, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And he goes, sorry, man. How is Tom? And we ended up talking for almost an hour. And he what do they call it? Bus call. He waved off his bus call like 3 times. He's like, I'll be there in a minute. Because he was hanging out with me. And that stuff is cool to me.
Yeah.
That's a small thing that meant a lot. And I think we take it for granted. And that's why I kind of wanted to talk about, like I said, the blanket statement with you. The stuff that you've got to do. I think it's cool. Mm-hmm. I don't care about the drama and shit. You tell me about that later. Some of it I already know. I don't care about that. I really don't. What was it like to play on TV when people watch TV? What was it like? I mean, that had to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, did you do Saturday Night Live?
No.
Squirrel.
Let me tell you what though.
Okay, because I was going to say everybody says Saturday Night Live sucks to play on.
No, let me just say, let me preface it like this: Saturday Night Live, when I was growing up, was my favorite show. One of my biggest goals in my whole life was to get on Saturday Night Live.
Really?
I love comedy.
Did not know that.
And it's just I love Saturday Night Live. I don't really watch it anymore because I'm always gone on a Saturday night. Sure you feel my pain.
I do.
But I grew up loving it. And we were scheduled.
DVR, brother. Get with the times.
That's too much work.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
But we were scheduled to do Saturday Night Live.
Oh, you were scheduled to do it?
We were scheduled to do it. We got to New York. We were in a hotel room. We got a call. Said, hey, Madonna just called us and said she wants to do the show this week, so you guys are out.
No shit.
Yeah. So we were there, and I was that close, man. But Madonna ousted us. She takes precedent, I guess.
She is Madonna.
She is Madonna.
She is the queen of pop.
So, anyway, Saturday Night Live is one that I did not get to do, but I got to do Letterman. Mm. And when I did Letterman, the video is actually on YouTube. You can watch it. I had 104-degree temperature, fever, when I was on Letterman. And it was horrible.
Oy.
And here's the thing. The song we were playing was Touch, Peel, and Stand, which is about a 4-minute song. We had rehearsed it a few times, and then we're getting ready to go live to camera. And they come up to me and said, listen, this song needs to be 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So we had to say, okay, what 40 seconds are we going to cut out of this song?
Right
now,
Oy.
with no rehearsal time. And I got 104-degree temperature. And he keeps it like an ice box in that studio. Or he kept it. He doesn't do the show anymore.
Right. By the way, do you know he has a new show on Netflix?
Yeah.
Have you seen him?
No.
He looks like you used to.
The full beard, right?
Oh, huge beard.
That's gangster.
Yeah, it took me a second to realize who it was. Anyway, sorry. Carry on. Go ahead. So he keeps it like an ice box in there.
Oh, yeah. And somebody asked him why they keep it so cold, or somebody asked one of the crew guys why they keep it so cold, and said that Letterman likes it like that because it makes the crowd stay awake. I don't know if that was a joke or if that was, but apparently he kept that studio cold at all times. I'm talking like in the 50s.
Ew.
Really cold. I didn't get to really talk to Letterman. I played Leno twice, and Leno is a super nice guy.
Nice.
Would always come to the dressing room and, shake everybody's hand. Like, did not leave the room until everybody's hand was shaken.
Oh, that's cool.
He did it both times we were there. Gave us each a gift bag to take with us. That had like cool. Little hand signed. I've still got it at home. Little hand signed thank you note for being on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Leno's class act for sure. We did Conan O'Brien. He's super tall. I'm sure everybody knows that. but he's also a pretty good guitar player.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and during the break, like before we were getting ready to play, he came over and strapped on one of the guitars and was messing around with it.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, but those are stories that, another, like when I told you my son's 18.
Yeah.
Or he's going to be 18. Here in a few years after he has grandkids, I'll have grandkids. I won't be able to tell them these stories, and they're going to be like, who was David Letterman? What was TV? Why did people watch it?
Right.
Technology has just changed the game so much that those stories aren't going to mean as much to a later generation. They're not going to realize the impact that an appearance on Letterman had.
Oh, absolutely.
Day, you know?
Absolutely. I agree.
It was huge.
Well, it's kind of like I was explaining to one of my students about Elvis in the whole hip shaking thing, and they wouldn't show him from the waist down. This kid's 17, probably same age as your son, and he literally looked at me like I had 14 heads. He couldn't. It didn't register.
Well, because he grew up watching Nicki Minaj.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? He's
Absolutely.
like, what's a little hip shake?
Yeah, exactly. And I tried to explain to him the best I could that it's a different time, dude.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that shit. That was a no. You just, and it in one ear and out the other. So, one last question before we move on to social media issues.
All right.
Because this is a personal question I want to know. How much shit did you keep from all the tours? And the reason I ask is because I have done nearly nothing as much as you have. That obnoxious noise is all my lanyards. And that's all I've kept. I've got some pictures out in my garage of still band photos. No, they're not in front of a brick wall. Yes, I'm pointing at you. No, they were not on train tracks. Get that out of the way. But that's all I've kept. Because I didn't have anything really, really cool. I have a couple framed things with some records I've done, but that's it. So I wanted to know, as much as you've done, what have you kept? If you say nothing, I'm punching you.
I went the other way.
I'm really not punching you. I'm just kidding.
It'd be in your interest not to.
I know, because you would beat the shit out of me.
I would never.
Yes, you would.
Unless you punched me twice.
See? Yes! Sorry, carry on.
Anyway.
What do you mean you've gone the other way?
I've gone the other way in that not only did I not collect nothing, I collected everything.
You kept it all?
I have in my basement. Let me look around here. Okay. This dresser you have here.
Mm-hmm.
The first and second drawer, about that size. I've got 8 trunks that size full of crap.
Really?
And one of them is almost all lanyards.
Nice.
I've got lanyards for days.
So you kept all your lanyards?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Well,
I thought it was the only fruitcake that did that.
Actually, I kept all my laminates. The lanyards I didn't hang on to. I've got almost all my laminates are on one huge key ring.
Oh, I got you.
And I've got them just all,
Right. Totally coming to your house and digging through your shit.
Well, I talk to my wife sometimes because I'm like, why am I keeping this stuff? Why am I keeping this stuff?
You should, man.
Because here's the thing, though. After I'm dead, nobody's going to give 2 shits about what's in those trunks.
I agree with you, but I'm going to put a bug in your ear to chew on your brain matter for later. It matters to you.
Well, and that's why
because that doesn't make 2 shits to anybody. Stacy asks me all the time, why the fuck do you keep those? They're for me. They're not for you.
Yeah.
I'm dead. You do whatever you want to with them.
Well,
so you chew on that and do whatever you want.
I just don't know. I've got 8 trunks. And in those trunks are everything from, I've got T-shirts in there that Metallica gave me.
Nice.
Like actually handed to me, you know what I mean? From Jason Newsted's hand to my hand.
Oh, very cool.
My trunk.
Right.
I've got all kinds of CDs with live show recordings. I've got posters. I've got pictures. I don't really have many autographs.
Right.
I was always that guy who didn't want to ask for an autograph.
I kind of am too. And if you look to your left, you'll see there's a couple there.
Yeah.
One's for me and one's for Stacy. And I got the first one, which is the top one, in 2000. And it was because Rod Morgenstein and Mike Portnoy were in the same building at the same time. And I went, this will never happen again. I need to get these 2 to sign this drumhead.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Stacy's a huge Three Doors Down fangirl, and I recorded the Avant Garde Dog record at Rivergate Studios, which is owned by Chris Henderson, who is in Three Doors Down, and I went, I'll probably never be in this situation again. Yeah. Let me get her a signed drumhead. But I'm 100% like you, but I just don't want to ask for an autograph. I don't even want to ask for a picture half the time. I'm just like, dude, I met you. That's awesome. Have a nice life.
Yeah.
I'll probably never see you again. Not to mention, you know this as well as I do. I can't even imagine it on your level, but I don't remember 90% of the people I meet because I meet so many damn people.
Yeah.
I mean, I just did a show last night and I probably met 40 people I've never seen, and I will probably never see them again. I just stopped trying to keep that shit straight.
I think that's
so I get it.
I think that is part of the reason that I can't remember people's names.
Oh, I'm horrible with names.
I'm really bad with names, and that's because from a very young age until now, I'm constantly meeting new people who I know probably won't have a significant impact on my life moving forward, and my brain just says, okay, their name was this, it doesn't matter. Say hello to them. It sounds like a douchey way to handle it, but it's the truth. Like especially when I was touring, I would meet hundreds of people a night.
Absolutely.
They would all tell me their name. I would tell them mine, but I would never remember those names. And so now, even if I'm at a show and I have two people come up to me, I can't remember those two names because my brain automatically says it's not important.
No, I get it. And I don't think it's douchey because I will tell people straight up that have met me 4 or 5 times. Hey, man, dude, I don't remember your name.
Yeah.
I will tell them straight. I make no bones about it. If you get pissed, I don't care. And this is the same thing I tell my students. You have one of me. I have thousands of you that I meet. It's way easier for you to remember my name than it is for me to remember all of your names.
Yeah.
When I explain it like that, people they kind of go, oh, well, that makes sense. Where at first they kind of, well, I'm not significant enough for you to... No, I've met too many damn people.
Yeah.
And I can't keep it straight.
Well, and when you get to a certain level, there will be people who will come out of the woodwork who will pretend like they knew you before.
I figured that. And
like, I remember this one guy in particular I'm thinking about. I think we were in Wisconsin or somewhere up north, and I was in Days of the New, and this guy came out to the show, and I didn't know him, didn't recognize him. And he was like, oh, man, I see how you are, man. Me and you, we back in Charlestown, me and you sit in your bedroom, smoke weed all the time. It's like, one thing, I've never smoked weed with you. And I know that because I've never smoked weed. That's how I know this.
That's fantastic.
But he was convinced I was somebody else.
He was adamant about it. Yeah.
And like he thought he had me confused with somebody else in our hometown and thought that person had gotten big and he didn't know me and he was accusing me of not knowing him.
Right.
But it's, things like that happen, man. If you get to a certain level, people will come out of the woodwork. I used to have people come up to me and ask me for money.
Oh,
like, hey, man, listen, I know you made it now. Can I have $5,000? Meanwhile,
I never thought it was that bad.
Meanwhile, I'm living on peanut butter. You know what I mean? Because especially when you're first starting out, it doesn't matter how big your record deal is. That advance only goes so far.
Absolutely.
And at some point, you gotta try to start making money from the other things, and it doesn't always happen the way you want it to.
Right.
So.
And eventually, the advance does run out.
Oh yeah. And you got to pay it all back anyway.
Exactly.
That's why they call it an advance.
So it runs out twice.
Yeah. So it's just, and for somebody like me, who, as I think I've said before, admittedly, I'm pretty limited in my people skills as it is.
Right.
I'm, situations like that, I don't do well in them. And I tend to try to avoid them. And because I try to avoid them, people often think I'm a jerk because I don't go out and talk to everybody.
No, I get it.
But I just, that's just me, man. I struggle with things like that. And people expect a lot of you when, if they see you on Letterman one night and they see you at a show the next night, they're going to want to be your friend.
Oh, absolutely they are.
And, but I have to say, that I think that speaks volumes to the character of this fellow you were talking about from 6 a.m., James Michael.
Yes.
The fact that he took time to reply to an email speaks volumes about his character.
Absolutely.
Because let me tell you, I get emails all the time. I don't reply to any of them. I don't reply to any of them. I don't reply to emails from my own band. And that's not a joke. They get mad at me because I don't reply to emails.
I know that. You've told me that because you've replied to a text from me a month later.
Oh, yeah. I'm horrible.
And I'll have to go, what the hell? I've already cleaned out my phone, dude. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
but
I just think that's part of who and what you are. I don't think that makes you a bad person. And there's no, I can say this from experience and from knowing you. There's no malice. There's no ill will. There's no malicious intent.
There's none.
I'm
really a nice guy.
You are.
It's one of the things I was telling you about the Alex Raimundo podcast.
Yeah.
I did with him. One of the things we talked about is, I'm not a jerk.
No, you're not.
But I can come across as one pretty easily.
I get it. Stacy accuses me all the time of being an asshole, and I've said it on a lot of episodes.
I'm not saying she's wrong.
I'm not saying she's wrong either, but what makes people think I am an asshole is I'm just not going to sugarcoat to save your fucking feelings.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it. So, enough of that crap. Let's move on to something else. Let's move on to social media issues. All right, you've listened to the show. I do not need to preface this. So, what you got for social media issues? By the way, you're smirking, and I like that.
It's not a smirk. I listen, like everybody else, like anyone else who is a thoughtful person that actually considers things instead of just instead of just diarrhea of the mouth.
Yes.
I have multiple things that I don't like about social media. One of them is what it does to me, or what it did to me. I'm happy to say that I'm in Facebook recovery for almost 2 years now. No political posts for almost 2 years.
Good job, buddy.
Thank you. My name is Jesse.
You can join the ranks of my other friend Todd, who just talked about the same thing. He is not posting political shit anymore either. I was very proud of him as well.
Well, it's a no-win situation, and that's the thing. Now that I've been converted and I've seen the light, I would like to spread that light to my fellow musician brethren that I'm friends with on Facebook. Because there are a lot of guys that I'm friends with that have not gotten the message yet.
I am not one of them.
I'm not going to name names.
You don't have to. You say whatever you
want.
But
there are guys that are on social media, on Facebook in particular, that are intelligent guys, and I know this because I've spoken with them face to face.
Right.
You know, and some of them I actually have true relationships with, and I know them going back a long ways.
Right.
They're intelligent people, but they're missing that message that what they're doing is not only not working, it's making things worse.
I would agree.
They're damaging the cumulative effect of all of those negative political posts is damaging the society at large.
Right.
We're like a bunch of chimpanzees, okay? We really are. And if there's like a cage full of chimpanzees and you throw a bunch of hammers in the cage, they're going to start hitting each other with them.
Eventually they are.
It's like they're going to figure out, this is a very powerful tool. How can I use this to my advantage?
Right.
And people think that social media is something they can use to their advantage, and very rarely it is.
No, it's not.
I mean, you can do it to plug your show, or you can, use it to, you literally can use it for what it's meant to, which is to stay in contact with your friends and family.
Absolutely.
Oh, hey, so-and-so, Abigail had a recital. Here's some video of her dancing. You know what I mean? And then grandma over in Iowa gets to see her granddaughter dancing. Things like that, sure, that's very helpful.
Absolutely.
But if you have any inkling of an idea that you're going to convert somebody because you strung a few intelligent words together,
ain't going to
happen. I consider myself to be a pretty smart fella, but it took me years to learn that. I'm a pretty astute guy. It took me years to figure that out. And consequently, not only am I not making political posts, I very rarely post anything anymore.
I know. And I will give you an outside perspective of why I think it took you so long to figure that out. Because you are a smart individual. You and I have had plenty of conversations. I think it took you so long to figure it out. The same reason it took Todd so long to figure out. You're passionate about it. I get it. I don't agree with it because the 3 things I won't talk about on the show, but you're still passionate about it.
Yeah.
I understand. And a lot of times that passion overrides logic. It just fucking happens. It is what it is.
It is what it is, and it is no longer for me.
And I am very proud of you once again.
But it's just such an incredibly powerful tool, and that's the biggest issue with it. Is that I've used this analogy before, but I'll use it again. You've seen Jurassic Park.
Long time ago, but yeah.
The what's the guy's name?
Jeff Goldblum.
The Jeff Goldblum character.
You like how I did that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But there's the line that he says in there that he says, you guys were so concerned about whether or not you could do this, you didn't stop to think about whether or not you should do this.
Right.
And that's what that's all Facebook is. people are so excited that I can do this. I can broadcast every thought I have to millions of people.
Mm-hmm.
But should I?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the should that always gets us.
I'm not throwing you under the bus. I just know for a fact, because you told me you haven't listened to this particular episode, but in episode 3 I talked about dirty laundry. People that air their dirty laundry. No, you should not fucking do that. But everybody does it. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Do not do that shit. Because you're going to get nothing out of it.
Nothing.
There's no reason for it.
There's no, like, when you think about, what's your potential, what would be your goal? What's your potential outcome that you're hoping to achieve? There's not going to be any personal growth.
Nope.
You're not going to convert anyone else's opinion.
Nope.
Everybody's stuck in their own tribe, and you're not going to pull them out.
Nope. No
matter how carefully you craft some argument and write it down, there's going to be some guy that's going to write, America. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to write something just to oppose what you said.
America. Fuck you.
Yeah. That's what's going to be. It's no. Because they will counter. If you make an intelligent argument, people will counter that with an unintelligent, uninformed argument, and they'll still think they won.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's no winning for you, and there was no winning for me. So that's my social media issue. I'm just done with that.
Okay. I like
Don't
it.
try to force me to do it.
So what do you think? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's move on to stories from the stage. All right, so what do you got for me, stories of the stage? And this had to be hard for you because you have played a shit ton of shows. But purely coincidentally, this is payback for the questions you asked me on your show. Because you had to make me pick some favorite shit, and I hate picking a favorite anything. So I made you pick one story.
Well,
or you can do two. You can do as many as you want. But
I mean, if it's one story, obviously, if I sat here for a long time, I could come up with many, many stories.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you the one
which,
that comes
for the
to
record,
mind.
You can come back anytime you want.
Well, I appreciate that invitation.
Absolutely. Always.
As long as you've got coffee, I'll come back.
Everybody knows if I'm awake, there is coffee in my house.
So let me ask you this qualifier here so I make sure I'm answering the question correctly.
Yes.
Stories from the stage. Do I have to be the one playing on the stage for it to be a story from the stage?
That's a great question. You have made me think of my own rules. No. And the only reason I will tell you no is because Chris Evans, his episode happened after they were on stage.
Okay.
And that was his story from the stage. But as long as it is you were in close proximity and involved in some way, then yes. Or then no, you don't have to be on stage, but you can tell a story. Yes.
Right. Well,
unless it's just really fucking good and you just want to tell it.
This really was difficult because I didn't.
They're hard to do. That's the only one that I ask everybody and they go, I don't know how to answer that one because I've got either I have none or I have too many. Well, I have too many. I know you do.
I have too many, and to be honest, a lot of them, it's difficult for me to remember them.
Dude, I get it.
Because it's not the type of thing, especially in the modern version of my life, I don't sit around talking to my wife and kids about crazy times on stage. You know what I mean? Get it. They're not stories I tell often.
Right.
But one thing that comes to mind is I was not on stage, but it was during the Metallica tour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Metallica had these 2 security guards. And I mean,
big and bigger? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, these were like, if you were ever going to meet somebody in a dark alley, these would not be the guys you would want to meet.
So huge and huger.
And that's the thing. I'm not a huge guy. One of the guys was considerably bigger than me.
Right.
One of the guys was smaller than me, and I was more terrified of him.
Damn.
He had this face that, some guys just have a face.
I get it.
And you look at him and you think, I don't think I'll mess with that guy. Under any circumstances, I don't think I'll mess with that guy.
Ever.
Yeah. And there's no real big punchline to this story, but it's one that comes to mind. I mean, it sticks in my head.
Right.
We were playing this place called The Gorge, which is in Washington State.
Gotcha.
So like a stage set up, and there's a huge canyon behind the stage. Beautiful venue.
Is it kind of like Red Rocks in Colorado? Concept-wise.
It's that grand. Yeah, it's concept-wise. It's a natural location.
Gotcha.
And it's beautiful, and it's grand in scale.
Nice.
Beautiful place. We were playing there with Metallica, and we had already played, obviously. Metallica was on stage. Somebody was in the crowd and threw a glass bottle at the stage.
Oy.
And it hit Jason Newsted in the head, and it broke, and it actually drew blood from his head. And he was all right, but it drew blood.
Right.
So everything got crazy after that. It was like they shut the show down, and James was like, "You point out the son of a bitch that's responsible for this."
Right.
And everybody in the crowd, you just saw the crowd open up.
And there's one lone
and there's
dude.
one dude, this one poor, unfortunate soul, just realized how bad he'd messed up, you know? And as soon as the crowd went apart, like it opened up like a sphincter. You know what I mean? Like in that, just like huge circle.
Yep.
And the guy was all alone. And
you watched this.
Oh, I was on the stage.
Oh, nice.
I was on the side of the stage.
You were on side stage.
Side stage, yeah.
Nice.
Not performing, but I was side stage.
No, I'm with you, yeah.
I watched every one of those shows. And most of the time I was inside the stage.
Oh.
So, and I saw that guy out there by his lonesome. I was like, holy crap, I wouldn't want to be that guy. But then I figured out I really didn't want to be that guy, because the two security guards come flying, running from the back of the stage, dove off the front of the stage into the crowd, got that guy, drug him behind the stage, put him in the back of the van, and I never saw him again.
Oy.
The van drove off, and nobody ever talked about where it went. And I just remember looking around like, I wouldn't want to be in a van out in the middle of nowhere like this with anybody, let alone those two guys.
Oy.
Because those were scary guys.
And let me guess, they just randomly appeared later on, those two guys.
Like nothing happened.
Exactly.
Like nothing happened. And I'm sure they just took him to the local police station.
Oh, absolutely.
And said, this gentleman disrupted our performance. And we would like you to reprimand him appropriately. I'm sure that's what happened.
Sternly, if necessary.
Yes. No, dude,
That's awesome.
It was scary. It was truly scary. And saying this made me think of one more story that I'll include if you don't mind.
Take all the time you want.
So this also took place on the Metallica tour. A lot of these things, any story that I have that's going to be interesting is going to be taking place in Days of the Newer Tantric.
No, I get it.
Because the Louisville Crashers, as talented and as entertaining as we can be, we're so boring off stage, it's not even funny.
I actually have to agree with that. You guys are pretty boring.
I'm just saying, but we like it that way. It's the reason we've been together for 10 years.
You know why I can say that and not feel bad about it? Because you've seen me play and as flashy and as all that garbage that I do off stage, I'm pretty boring.
Well,
I read books and drink coffee.
It's not a bad life.
Oh, hell no.
So you're not going to hear any wild, crazy stories about the Crashers. We have no exploits.
Unless you go on a cruise ship.
Would you quit it with the cruise ship?
Why? It's funny.
I just had a couple of drinks, man. I bought the drink package. I didn't want it to go to waste.
For those of you that haven't checked out Jesse's podcast, what you need to do, he throws himself under the bus about drinking entirely too much on the Crasher cruise last year.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny because I've never known you to drink that much at a sitting, and you drank that much over a week.
Yeah. It took a while.
That's why it's funny to me.
I was getting the silent treatment from my liver for a while. It was pretty mad at me. So anyway,
the second story.
This other story
yes.
Also has to do with drinking, peripherally. So we were in, we were on the Metallica tour, and we were in, I want to say Dallas, Fort Worth, but it could have been some other city in Texas.
Right.
And the night before the show, Matt and I went out with some people and really, really, really tied one on. I mean, tied one on. And that means, you know, sure, it means something coming from me. But when I say Matt Tall tied one on, I mean he tied one on.
Gotcha.
So we get back to the hotel, you know, 8 or 9 the next morning. You know, we're pouring out of the limo. We get a few hours sleep, and then it's time to go to the venue. San Antonio. It was in San Antonio. And I remember that because it was the middle of the summer, and it was 106 degrees.
Oy.
And it was an outdoor show, and we had been drinking all night.
Oh.
Let me tell you what happened. Okay.
I'm not laughing because I see where this is going. I'm laughing because of the look on your face. These are the days I want a camera in here. Carry on.
So Matt, who people have different opinions about Matt,
right,
as far as his drum playing ability. I, being someone who grew up with him and played with him more than anybody else, I know he's a fantastic, amazing drummer.
Right.
But he's like a Picasso. You know, you look at his drumming and you either think, oh man, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, or you think that is crap.
I get it.
It's like you either love him or hate him, but I love his playing. And he's playing. We're playing the show, and we're coming up on the last song, okay? We're playing the last song. And he's just, it's 106 degrees. He drank all night long. He's sweating like crazy. He's playing a beat. He comes around to hit the last big thing. He hits the cymbals, the big crash cymbals and the kick drum all at the same time. The song ends, and it's great, and everything was perfect. Stick still in the air. He turns around. Projectile vomits all over Lars Ulrich's kit. Projectile vomits all over Lars's kit, and Lars has to play that same kit in an hour.
Oh, you serious?
I would not shit you.
And Lars's rig was not covered?
No.
Oh.
No, it was not covered. And it was directly, because of the way the stage was set up, it wasn't like we set up in front of Cantrell and Cantrell set up in front of Lars. Matt's kit was directly in front of Lars's kit just because of the layout of the stage.
Right.
And when he turned his head, he projectile vomited, and it was nasty. It was chunky and liquidy, and it went everywhere.
Oh my God. Please tell me that didn't get you kicked off the tour.
It did not get us kicked off the tour, but
there were some consequences?
Lars was not happy.
You think?
I mean, but here's the thing. At that point, we were established enough in the tour already. We had a very good rapport with Lars. He had spent quite a bit of time imbibing with us himself. Like he was no stranger to partying, and he had partied with us.
Right.
So I think he sort of understood, but still he had puke all over his drum kit.
Right.
So there's no turning that into a happy story for him.
No.
So, and of course, our crew guys and the Metallica crew guys and everybody had to go and clean the kit off as soon as possible.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Matt pretty much passed out immediately afterward because he was playing in 106-degree heat and he had drank all night.
Ugh.
So they were in charge of cleaning it all up, and it was not pretty.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Damn. I'm like visualizing it. That's fucking crazy. And not to mention, fucking gross. Because I get a beer or a Coke spilled on anything on my rig, I freak out.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine I would just burn them. You know what? I don't want that rig anymore. I'm done.
It was an ugly scene, man.
Oh, it's gross. So with that, I'm just gonna move straight into what am I listening to? All right, so what do you got for me? What are you jamming on or vibing to if it's a podcast? I don't really care either one. Because I know you're a fan of podcasts.
I'm a huge fan of podcasts. And there are several that I like, but I'm not going to say them because I picked music.
Fair enough.
I went with music because obviously I'm a big music fan.
No. What do you know about music?
Not much. Not nearly as much as I pretend to.
That was a softball pitch. You like that?
I do.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to go with the standby that I've been hooked on for probably 2 years. I've been a fan my whole life, but the last 2 years I've been addicted to Joe Jackson.
No shit.
And I don't know, a lot of people here in the States aren't familiar with him. I say Joe Jackson and they're just like, what, you know, they think I'm talking about Michael Jackson's dad.
Right.
No. But Joe Jackson is the first 2 albums in particular, Look Sharp and I'm the Man, are they're amazing. They are, especially if anybody out there listening to this, if you are a drummer or you are a bass player, you should go listen to those first 2 albums. Because the music that's played there, Graham Mabey was a bass player on all Joe Jackson stuff.
Gotcha.
And he's phenomenal.
I've heard that name.
And that is the way a rhythm section relationship should work.
Right.
Because over the course of those 2 albums, they play a lot of different kind of stuff, a lot of different styles. There's reggae feeling stuff, and like ska, punky, hard rock, ballad. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on the course of those 2 albums.
Right.
And they do it all great. They do it all perfectly.
Nice.
And Joe Jackson is no slouch, and he's amazing. I love his songwriting. I love his voice. He's perfect by himself.
Right.
But anybody who's a fan of drumming or bass playing should listen to those first 2 albums. All the way through, no interruptions, good headphones, however you listen to good music. Don't listen to it on your iPhone speaker.
I agree.
Because I will kick you in the butt. It's
agree.
like, it's so horrible. Listen to it on a good system. Go to Howard Jitley's house. He'll play the vinyl for you.
Yeah.
And it'll sound
speakers.
amazing. Yeah. So that's what I'm listening to. But to be honest, it changes. Like with everybody, I'm a big fan of, I've been on a kind of a Steely Dan kick lately. Something that people might not expect is I'm a huge fan of chick singers. I love Regina Spektor, Fiona Apple, Feist, Missy Higgins. I love all that stuff. And my wife doesn't appreciate it. She says I'm listening to she calls them, oh, you're listening to those howlin' women again. Those howlin' women. But it's, the thing is...
Stacy calls it because I have an appreciation for female singers too. And when I get to the rockier side of stuff, she goes, oh, look at you listening to them angry bitches.
But, it makes sense, especially if like somebody like me, if I'm going to appreciate music for its capacity to convey an emotion to me, women are far better suited to do that than men are.
Absolutely.
I mean, unless you're Steve Perry, you're not going to sell an emotion to me if you're a dude. It's very much harder for a dude to do it.
I agree. Just throwing something at you. Check out Angie Apparel.
I've heard you talk about him.
He can convey emotion like that, and it's very hard for dudes to do, but he's kind of that way.
And there's another dude. Let me tell you this. You're from Atlanta, right?
Ish, yes.
Atlanta-ish?
Yeah.
You're familiar with Smith's Old Bar?
I played there a few times.
Okay. My buddy, a guy named Scott Southern, I think he was the house guy at Smith's Old Bar for a while, sound guy. And there was a band that came through there probably 2003, 2004, and he recorded their show. I have a copy of that show in that bag right there. And I'm going to have you steal that off of the CD and keep it in your system because I want you to listen to it.
Okay.
And I say that because based on the podcasts that I've listened to, the way that you talk about music and the way that you value music, I think you'll get a lot out of it. Okay. So I'm gonna let you have that disc. I'm not gonna let you have that disc.
I get it.
I'm gonna let you burn the songs off of it, steal the songs off of it, because I think you will appreciate it. I don't share it with very many people because I think there are a lot of people who won't get it. I think you'll get it.
Okay.
It's
awesome.
It's amazing.
What's the name of the band?
The name of the band is Buchanan. They're from LA. They're defunct. And I actually listened to their album that they officially put out, and it was crap. It was schlock. This live version that my buddy recorded is amazing.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
it's
I'll
amazing.
Check it out.
So don't let me leave without getting that music because you'll have a serious appreciation for it.
Nice.
So, but anyway, that's music for me. That's what it boils down to. Joe Jackson steals the cake, especially the first 2 albums. There's a lot in there on all the rest of his albums that people could appreciate. You know, right. I think his biggest hit came around like the 4th album, something like that. But it's the first 2 albums. Seems
vaguely familiar. I will trust your judgment on that better than mine.
You should spend some time listening to it.
I will, because I don't know if you saw it, and I've talked about it on a couple of episodes, but we did the Carl nominated me for the 10 album challenge, 10 life-changing albums. I don't know if you saw that on Facebook. A bunch of us did it. But anyway, I have a hard time picking a favorite anything. But I found once I got into that kind of rhythm of going, well, this record did it. Now I'm getting to where I'm going backwards and peeling away my jadedness, my self-admitted jadedness. And I'm starting to go back and find different shit that I haven't listened to, or stuff I haven't listened to in years. So yeah, I'll definitely check out the Joe Jackson stuff for sure.
Oh, it's worth it. It's worth your time.
Oh, well, I don't doubt musically. I don't doubt you at all. That other stuff, yeah, I'm not real sure about that shit. But I'm going to give you a podcast.
Okay.
Because I've listened to. I'm completely caught up, but when I found it, I listened to 7 episodes in 2 days, and that is the James Michael podcast.
Oh,
which is called Jamcast.
All right.
And the reason I want you to check it out is because, first of all, he's pretty real. And I'm not necessarily just pumping him up. But the shit that he talks about and how he decided that he was going to do a podcast and why was really cool. But he talks about his side of the business on the $1 million scale, basically, what you and I were talking about.
Yeah.
Because without giving away too much, he talks about, I've lived in mansions that had elevators and 6 AC units. He said, what the fuck does a human being need that much shit for? It's that kind of talk.
Yeah.
And then he has DJ Ashba on there, which, do you know who DJ Ashba is? Guitar player.
Beautiful
really
Creatures.
Good. Fucking high five in a microphone. You know how many people don't know who that band is?
Little known fact, Beautiful Creatures opened for Tantric for about 6 weeks on tour back in 2002.
No shit.
Something like that. They were always very nice guys. I don't know a whole lot about them, but very nice guys.
I have the first Beautiful Creatures record. I didn't really care for the second one, but I have it. And I mean physical copy. I have the first one. Fucking great band. So then you know who DJ Ashba is. And of course he was in 6 a.m. too. But he had him on the show. But it's just it's an interesting look for someone like me who has wanted to get to that level. And it's a peek behind the curtain. And for someone like you who has been at that level, it's still a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So I think you'll dig it. It's called the Jamcast.
I'll check it out.
I think you should. I think you'll dig it. Well, that's it, kids. That's the show for the week. Anything you want to add, Mr. Vest? I just like saying your last name, Vest.
I'm good. Take it easy, Cindy. Get your hand off my leg.
Sorry. My bad. Can I put my hand on your foot?
Oh, dude.
Damn it.
I'm a married man. Happily married man.
I'm happily married too, but you're kind of cute.
You need to get out more.
I appreciate you coming by and spending time with me.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Anytime. My door is always open. Yes, I will always have coffee. Everybody knows that. If coffee were to cease to exist, so would O'Reilly. He'd be toast. I'm out. I'm done. I hope you guys learned something about Mr. Vest. I had an enjoyable conversation with you. I learned shit, as I always do. I hope you had fun. I hope you had fun, Jesse, hanging out. And I hope you will come back. I do always say that I want people to have an open invitation, but I actually really do want you to come back. Because I think I just want to do a whole show of you just going through shows that you remember playing. Because I think there's some cool shit in there. Only because, and you can tell me no, it won't hurt my feelings, but only because of what we were talking about earlier with the newer generation that just won't appreciate that shit.
Yeah.
There's still some people, and there's some fans of my show that will appreciate that shit. Because you've seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing.
Well, I'll come back, man.
Awesome.
We'll work it out. You have your people, call my people.
I will. I'll have my butler.
Yeah.
And to get that reference, you have to listen to Jesse's episode. So on that, we're out of here. I hope you guys learned something. And as I say at the end of every episode, go do some shit. Seriously, go. Fuck out of here. Jesse, tell him. Get out.
Get out.
Get out. Go do something. Anything. Go outside. It's almost summer, people. So until next time, I will talk at you soon.